So, hi everyone, I'm Maria Schweeder here, and I've got Habibulla, who lives in England, who is a Dari interpreter with us today. And welcome, Habib. It's so great to have you here. And we're just going to have you tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. Yeah, so I think my name is Habibullah rather than Habib Abdullah.
Oh,
Habibulla Josefi, yeah, and I'm a Dari interpreter based in the UK. And I've been working as interpreter for around 10 years, really. Working on site, over the phone, remotely, as well as on site and various contexts and various sections as well.
and you work with a lot of refugees as well.
Yeah, recently I've been working mainly with the refugees, like Afghan evacuees who've been evacuated from Afghanistan to the UK, and I'm working on daily basis with them.
Wow. And you're also a CHI core, right?
It is, yeah, right, in two language. So I had to mention that I also speak Spanish as well. So yeah, I have the core certificate in both language, Spanish and Dari.
Oh, great, great. Okay, well, one of the questions we have is that a lot of challenges for languages of lesser diffusion are a lot of times that there are words that there's English words that we use that there's no word equivalent for that in another language. So what are some of the challenges you have as far as interpreting from English, especially medical terminology and things like that?
Yeah, that's really a huge challenge for at least for me as a Dari speaker to translate many jargon or many technical words into English, into Dari, from English into Dari. Not mainly medical, but also other contexts like a school, immigration, like a social context. So the English language is very precise, and they have board and they have this concept and services for long time running, while in Afghanistan for many reasons. One is because of the war and lack of administration, lack of social services or welfare services. So many terms are not exist in Afghanistan, and the concept even the concepts aren't existed in our language and in our society. And there's no glossary, or there's no resources that we could go and to get benefit from them. And so this is a big challenge, and always for me always I wanted to be more qualified in these two language, in English and Dari combination, but there's no courses, there's no training. So always I go to, instead I go to Spanish and English, which is I try to learn the techniques and the skills, but it's not the same. I can use the same things when I'm doing in Dari, but so because there's nothing in Dari, so I have to go to in Spanish and English courses. Yeah.
So there's things that there's no concepts, like you say. How do you get past that hurdle? How do you explain those concepts?
Mm.
Is it even possible?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, we have to provide explanation instead. Very simple word like a caseworker or case manager. All those terms we don't have them at all. Like a places like a benefit. Those things we don't have them. So we have to explain to them, and sometimes it's difficult because you have to step over the rules, as an interpreter. So you're not allowed, but you have to do to convey the meaning. Otherwise, if I translate straight away and word for to word, it would be very confused for the service user.
Wow. Wow. So when you first started working as a Dari interpreter, you had no training as an interpreter, or was your first training the Spanish English one?
Yeah, I had a neutral training, like a non-language basis training. So just to learn the rules as an interpreter, the rules and ethics, all those that's applied to work of interpretation. But in terms of comparison or to language to other and how to translate or interpret terminologies, those things, not in that way.
The training the initial training was in the UK, right?
It was, yeah. All the training was in the UK.
And is that a private or is that a state training, or how does that?
Both, yeah. The very basic training was a state or community based training, and they were free, most of them. So they are basic. In England, in the UK, we have a level 1, level 2, and level 3 community interpreting certificate. So the first two, level 1 and 2, are almost free, unless you are you work and you have a salary, so you have to pay for it. But if you're not in employment, and then you can get a benefit from the government to do them for free. And then level 3 is a private section, so you have to pay for it.
Okay.
So yeah, level 3 allow you to start working. Without that is in UK you cannot work as an interpreter
without training, right?
Without training, yeah. So level 1 and 2 are not considered as a being certified in as an interpreter. But level 3, this is the first this is the minimum requirement, I would say. Gotcha. For interpreter. And then there are more level 6 and level 7, which is those are also private, and they are very expensive to achieve them.
And that's just higher, more like continuing education almost. But they're all the one language, right? They're all.
Yeah, there are. So those courses are in a few languages, not in all, not exist in all language. So level 1, 2, and 3, they are like a neutral language courses. But level 6 and 7, they are the language you wanted. But again,
it still doesn't cover all languages, right?
No, it doesn't cover all language. Yeah.
So what would you like to see in the future? What kinds of things could we do to help, say, Dari speakers get better prepared and better trained? And
yeah, I really hope that we could have for Dari interpreter right courses as as we have it with other languages in like Spanish or Arabic. So resources, glossaries, terminologies, and trained instructor or trainees to teach the interpreters. That's I want to look for it really.
Where did you learn Dari medical terminology?
Well, when I learned medical terminology in Spanish and English, and then I tried to research and find the Dari equivalents. But the funny is that and then there's no much in Dari, but some are in Farsi, which is Iranian language, which is very close to Dari. It's not the same, but very close. So I also mostly I resort to Persian language glossary, which is more wider than Dari. So you can find more resources and more glossaries in that language.
But do Dari speakers understand Persian, or?
No, all of them. No, it's a misconception. People think it's the same language, but it's not. Okay. No, not every Afghan would understand Persian. But for the fact that many Afghan as refugee, they lived in Iran, but is not all Afghanistan. So it would be a few millions, but not 40 million. So yeah, I want to clarify that not every Afghan would understand Persian language. That's the companies or the service providers shouldn't think that way.
Okay, so it's still Dari then that they would,
Mm,
yeah.
Yeah.
So do you see it possible in the future to have a medical terminology glossary in Dari?
No, because I don't know how that would be possible unless there's are resources and people are hired like a medical staff, doctors from Afghanistan, to be collaborating with the interpreting services, so they could provide better lessons.
Are there medical providers from Afghanistan in England, for instance? Or-
There are some, yeah, there are some medical, especially in the new refugees, in new arrivals. I would say a new wave of refugees that they have to leave Afghanistan after the arrival of Taliban. There are some professionals, and among them medicals as well.
Oh,
Medics.
so they could be a resource conceivably.
Yeah, could be. Yeah.
Okay, well, I really appreciate your coming and talking to us. This was great. So again, Abdullah, thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure. Really. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
having me.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.